Good evening. Welcome to the Southeast Tennessee Friday Night Pressbox podcast presented by Team FYN Sports. Joined now, as always, by Jeff Cate at the Jeff Cate on Twitter and Coach Mark Stone, the old ball coach. Guys, how we doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Got the playoffs going. Everything's rolling now. Let's see some more good football.
Yeah, pretty much what Coach Stone said, and then some. Obviously, like we talked about last week, kind of my favorite time of the year. These next few weeks, and had some close games last Friday, but also just probably about the normal amount of blowouts we were expecting to see with how many teams are in the playoffs across the state. So we'll dive into those throughout the show. But yeah, just glad to be here and glad to be talking some high school football with you guys as always.
We had a few technical difficulties before the show even started. It was like I was in one of those Korean movies. My mouth was moving, but no words were coming out. Right?
I was starting to pick up on reading your lips because I thought we were going to have to do that the whole hour.
Well, and see, Wes, the funny thing is, you do radio, I do too, and obviously technical difficulties are a part of the game, and I was like, okay, I'm used to hearing this on Friday nights when we're doing the red zone, but just the joys of the internet and the joys of online presentation stuff. So, but you pulled the curtain back for the viewers and the listeners there, so you definitely told on yourself. But that just shows how humble we are to show that we do have difficulties, and it doesn't matter. It's just like when you're down in the fourth quarter, you got to do what you got to do to come out and get the job done on the field.
Exactly right. Jeff Cate, and Coach Stone, let's talk a little bit about week one of the NCAA playoff. Some teams fell from our area that we cover. One of those teams being Tyner. Tyner's season ends last week. Jeff, talk a little bit about Tyner this year.
Yeah, obviously Tyner had a lot of, you don't want to call it adversity, but definitely a lot of change, I guess I would say. With the coaching change last off season, and ironically enough, they took on the same team that kind of started that whole thing at Trousdale County, and that's a tough place to go up there and win. But you got to give Coach Chandler's team a lot of credit. They had a great season despite that. I mean, their only losses during the regular season were against Marion County and Meigs County. So those are two pretty good football teams. And if you lose to Trousdale County in the playoffs, I think a lot of teams have felt that pain, historically against Trousdale County. So, I know it's not, a first round playoff loss isn't what Coach Chandler, I'm sure, wanted for the Tyner Rams, but that's a tough team. And with that win, they're taking on Meigs, and that's been a playoff almost rivalry in the last 4 or 5 years they've met. They've had some really close games. So, but yeah, nothing to hang their heads about. Tyner is they got some good athletes. They definitely showed that this year, and I would expect Coach Chandler to continue that momentum into 2022 for sure.
Another team that we talked about, going into last week, who we thought, had a tall task at hand going on the road to play Westridge was Cleveland. Cleveland goes over there and gives Westridge all they want. They come back losers, eventually, but a 17-14 game. You go over there, you give Westridge all they want, and you. To me, Cleveland, I thought had a decent year of football. Coach Stone, I know you know a little bit about Cleveland.
I thought so, and early in the year, I wasn't real sure what kind of season they were going to have. They kind of started off a little bit bumpy, didn't they? The best I remember, but it seemed like this football team, the Blue Raiders, they got better every week and got into playoffs, and I'm a little bit like you, Wesley. I didn't know how they would play against Westridge. I had to scramble to get something on Westridge, but that apparently was a good football game.
Yeah, it had to be a good football game. 17-14, like we said there. Another good football game that probably not a lot of people saw coming. Bradley Central gets another 3-point win over Jefferson County, 24-21. They will host Farragut this week, and Farragut went on the road to Science Hill and won 57-56 in double overtime. A great football game there. Anytime you put up that many points, that's you're doing something right on offense.
Oh, for sure. And that kind of sets the scene for, round number 2, like you said, between Bradley Central and Farragut, that game the first time was up in Knoxville, and that was a last second Bradley Central field goal at the buzzer to get that win. And I know that, I'm sure Coach Floyd's going to be telling his team, it's tough to beat a team, whether it's good, bad, or, ugly. It's tough to beat a team twice in 1 year. And I know, I'm sure, if Farragut has the game plan, they know kind of how to go toe to toe with Bradley Central. So Bradley's going to be on their best, have their best game plan ready for the Admirals. But, luckily that game is at Bear Stadium. It's, on the turf up there in the bowl that is Bradley Central. And, that should be a great atmosphere there too. So that's going to be definitely a game that should be fairly competitive based on the first matchup we saw back in October.
Jeff, do you have last year's score? Didn't Farragut beat Bradley by 3 points last year?
I'll have to go back and look. I don't know exactly, but yeah, I'm the reason I remember the game this year was because I was in studio, keeping up with this game when I was in studio for the Red Zone, and it just from one tough place to go and win like Farragut, they got to come back and return the favor here at Bradley Central. So this game has always been historically close the last couple of last few years, especially, and add a playoff run to the mix, that's definitely going to amp up the intensity as well. So I'm expecting an intense football game on Friday night for sure at Bear Stadium.
I'm going to throw this in. This is what I've been preaching about in Tennessee. I don't think this is the week for Bradley to play Farragut again. A buddy and I was trying to put this together, the Tennessee bracket, the way Georgia does, and we didn't get it quite finished. I'll try to get it finished up next week, and just Bradley wouldn't be playing Farragut, or Farragut wouldn't be playing Bradley this week, as the Georgia High School Association, they don't worry about how far you got to travel. We were looking at some of the travel distances today. TSSAA worries about the travel, and I don't think this is a week that Bradley and Farragut, for example, needs to be playing.
Well, like you mentioned, Wes, a few surprises and a few not so surprises. South Pitt rolled in their game against Red Boiling Springs. That was a 56-0 Mercy Rule game. I think we kind of expected that. Meigs County took care of business by double digits. Marion County did as well. And, and then I guess probably the biggest surprise of, I guess not technically surprise to the Red Raiders, but Baylor going on the road and getting a 21-13 win at Innsworth, that's a tough place to play. And, those two teams have gone back and forth over the last couple of years. I think people are looking at, this is the McCauley sweepstakes, in Division II AAA, but at the same time, that was definitely a huge win for Coach Mathis' team to go over to Nashville and get a win against Innsworth. So that was definitely a big surprise there. A couple of, like you mentioned, a bunch of close games. One of those that kind of stood out to me was Central. They had a lead. I think it was double digits in the second half at Macon County, and then they wound up losing 28-26. So that sets up a Red Bank Macon County showdown here this coming week. So we were kind of looking at that, thinking, okay, we're going to get a Central Red Bank rematch because Central beat Red Bank in September, and but it wasn't the case. They weren't able to hang on, but Red Bank rolled and get ready to host a big game because both teams are kind of evenly matched. We're kind of interested to see how those two teams are going to face off against each other on Friday.
Yeah, Red Bank should, being at home is going to help the travel from Macon County. Right now, a game that stood out to me that I really didn't see coming. East Hamilton got beat. East Hamilton got beat by DeKalb County 35-21, and we didn't see that one coming for sure.
Yeah, that's a team I'm sure we'll talk about with our first guest. We'll kind of mention that in the next segment. But yeah, that's just after that loss to Red Bank, late in the year, that kind of wound up being the region clincher for the Lions. It just seemed like that Red Bank got hot at the right time, and East Hamilton was kind of not on the decline, but they weren't playing as well as they were in the first half of the season. So yeah, I know Coach Reynolds, that was a big disappointment, but East Hamilton will be fine. They got enough athletes, and they'll be back for sure. So
some winners from last week. Carnes beats Walker Valley 27-25. Walker Valley almost came back and won that game. Kingston, a 42-28 winner over Sequatchie County. Loudon rolls over Grundy County 42-6. Like we said, Macon County takes care of business. Powell takes care of business against Ooltewah. And South Pittsburgh 56-0 over Red Boiling Springs. McMinn County, a 24-17 winner over Oak Ridge. And that came down to the final play. Oak Ridge had the ball at the 2-yard line or the 5-yard line with right there, a couple seconds left in the fourth quarter. McMinn County's defense holds strong at the 2-yard line.
And then the other game in that 5A bracket that we were at for our Coca-Cola Red Zone game of the week was Ray County hosting Campbell County. And Ray County, the story once again, it's been the Ethan Davis show, the sophomore tailback for the Golden Eagles, over 250 yards rushing on the ground. I think he's close to. I think if he's not at 1,000 yards, he's very close in the last 3 games. That'll show you kind of the athlete that he is, and kind of the well-oiled machine that the wing T offense at Ray County is for sure. So and that sets up a big. You mentioned the Carnes Walker Valley game. That sets up a second round matchup between 2 of the better backs that we're going to see probably this year, in Deshaun Bishop at Carnes, who's the nation's leading rusher, against a guy who's had almost 1,000 yards in the last 3 games. So, but we'll talk more about that in the preview segment for this coming weekend for sure.
And looking ahead to next segment, I'm Jeff Cage, one of my good friends. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and Jeff, I'm going to let you introduce him on the flip side of this break. You've been listening to the Friday Night Pressbox podcast presented by Team F1 Sports. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Welcome back to the Friday Night Press Box Southeast Tennessee High School Football Podcast presented by Team FYN Sports. And pleased to be joined by a local, I'm going to call him a legend. I'm not going to inflate your ego too much, pal. But it is Scott McMahon, also known as Quake. You can hear him weekday afternoons on Talk Radio 102.3 on Sport Talk. You can also on Friday Night Rivals during the football season on the CW Chattanooga. And kind of why I'm on this program, one of the founding fathers of the Coca-Cola Red Zone. Buddy, how's it going tonight?
Good, man. How are you guys?
Doing good. Just glad to be talking about high school football. I'm sure that's one thing I know you love talking about as well, brother. So before we start talking, I guess kind of give us, I guess, for the listeners or viewers of our podcast here, kind of your background, I guess, kind of how you got into the radio business and how you, I guess, kind of got involved in high school football and I guess high school athletics in general.
Well, it's kind of interesting because, I got in radio in 88. Basically, my mom worked at the Convention and Trade Center, and she worked with a lady that was on the Better Business Bureau board with Dan Brown, who was the sales manager. I think you know Dan, Jeff. He's retired now, but just a great man. And he said, you know what? We need somebody to run Mox football and basketball. This is when it was just KZ106 and AM 1150. So you just had 2 radio stations, JR, of course, doing Mox football and basketball. And they had, University of Notre Dame. I mean, like South Bend, Notre Dame, on the air. So they were like, we just need you. Of course, nothing was automated back then, 1988, right? Right, Coach? You understand?
You got it.
And you had to physically put the cart in and hit play. I mean, it was just that simple. But I was in radio, right? I mean, that's all I cared about, and I just got my foot in the door. So doing that on the weekends, still going to college. And then, as Sport Talk progressed from J. David Miller to Gary and Jerry Haskew, they said, we want you to run the board for us. So, that's when I started kind of working on the weekdays. I'd go to class in the morning and then come over there in the afternoons and just learn from those 2. I mean, they were so entertaining. They were so good at what they did and just tried to emulate what they did. So I kind of got as the third person, because neither one of those guys were technologically sound. Back then I was, and now I'm not. So, it comes full circle. But we all basically what they did was they acquired 107.9, which is, country, new country, whatever it is now. It's been, no offense, Dodger, if you see this, but it's been 15 different, formats, or not necessarily formats, but names. So Gary and Jerry pushed for Sport Talk to go to 107.9 on an FM, maybe even all sports, but they pushed for talk to be on the FM. Well, the corporate people said, we want to do country, classic country. And they said, okay, well, we're taking Sport Talk to FM, which was a station that Herb Adcox owned at the time, right? And this is the 90s, probably 93. So anyway, long story longer, we get in there, and this is about 94. A guy, y'all know him, Wally Witkowski. His real name's Tom Bolden. He played football at Brainerd back in the early 70s. And a guy named Tommy Youngblood, who has been in media sales his entire career. He played running back at Central back in the 70s, right? Or I think mid to late 70s. So we all got together one night and we said, well, I mean, this is way before cell phones and everything. Why can't we have the old, hold that line call-in show where people can call in and ask what the score is, or they can give them, they can give us a score, whatever the case is. And we all got together one night in Wally's basement and decided, I think this would work. I mean, I really do. And we would encourage people to go to the payphone and call us with quarterly updates on their team. And it did take off pretty quick. I mean, I've laughed with the guys at Coca-Cola because it was the first year it was the Pepsi Pressbox.
It was.
But we tend to forget that because Coca-Cola has been such a great sponsor for us. And 28 years later, we're still doing it. And, Jeff and Justin, and there's been so many people who have been a big part of it. Randy Kaler and my buddy Blue Raider Spud, who lives up in Murfreesboro now. He was one of the first guys on there. And I could go on a million stories, but one of the funniest things is a guy named Eric Schneckschneider was the quarterback at Notre Dame, right? So Wally's son, Bill, played defensive line at Notre Dame. So we kind of had an in with Notre Dame. Well, now Schneckschneider is a principal at Heritage who hired E.K. Slaughter. I mean, it just goes to these layers of the history of high school football in Chattanooga. It's wonderful.
Well, it's funny you say that, man, because I was talking to new Ooltewah head coach Goose Manning before a few weeks ago, and I was asking because we covered his first game as head coach at Ooltewah when they played East Hamilton this year, Quake, and I said, "What was your first start as quarterback?" And he said it was the game where I can't remember what year he was, but it was the game against Tyner at Ooltewah.
Right.
Well, guess where our game of the week was that week?
You were there. That's right.
We were there. So, I mean, it's just like, it ties back together. Like you said, I mean, that's just a modern example. A guy who is the head coach at a program was also, the quarterback of one of our games of the week. So, I mean, that just goes to show, kind of the reach we've had over the last 28 years and, just a lot of great stories. I know the great Ron Hall was there on the field for the Tom Weathers scuffle at Saudi Daisy that night. So I'm sure Coach Snow remembers that just a little bit.
What's funny about that too, Jeff, and I don't mean to interrupt, but when I covered the Red Bank Stone Memorial game Friday for the Red Zone, and I saw Wendell Weathers, and he said, "Oh, let this guy through. He's been in the Red Zone covering high school football. Let him come in." And I said, "Wendell, man, he said, you've covered it a long time." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You guys were there when Dad got arrested, weren't you?" I said, "Yeah, we were. We sure were." I wasn't personally, but Red Zone Ron was all over it. And that's when that Saudi Daisy Red Bank rivalry was at its height, man. They played a couple games at Finley Stadium where they drew 15 and 18,000 people. I mean, it's crazy.
No doubt, man. But I guess talk about that team you saw last week. We've seen him a couple times this year. Coach Brown's squad. Obviously, since he's been there, we know what his team wants to do, and that is be very tough, physical, defensively, and have those athletes at the skill positions to make you pay for it when the defense ultimately gives them an opportunity to score. So, what did you see from Red Bank and kind of how they were able to overwhelm Stone Memorial last week?
I think we all talk about Rico Trimble and Joseph Blackman, their quarterback, guys that we've seen for a number of years now. But I'm telling you, the DeJuan Morris kid, number 17, he's a I got my cheat sheet right here. He's he's a sophomore. No, a freshman. I'm sorry, he's a freshman. This guy, other than Riggs, could be the best Red Bank High School football player we've seen. If he puts a little size on, he is fast as he can be, and he runs the ball with purpose. He actually had the Stone Memorial quarterback. They were running the football on him, and I'm sorry if my dogs start to race around here. I'll call it like the Kentucky Derby, but just I apologize on the front end. So anyway, they sack the quarter. The quarterback takes off running. They kind of one of those roll tackles where the ball's exposed on the top. This kid just comes and just takes it away from him, scoops it up, and 73 yards later, boom, he's in the end zone. It would seem like a split second. I was like, this guy has got unbelievable speed. So he is really impressive as a young kid. But like you mentioned, they're just so physical on the offense and defensive front with Augustus brothers. They just get after you constantly, and they've got so many different weapons. One of the things I noticed, maybe this is just me getting old, but one of the things I noticed was Red Banks has about 3 guys. One of them is Blackman's brother, who is – what number was he? Josh Blackman, number 11. The turn and burn is what I call it. And they make that catch, the defender's on their hip, and boom, they're whipping it. And it's like they're out. They're so quick, and that's why I think Coach Chris Brown plays to their strengths so well. Because they've got a number of guys that are that quick. It's kind of scary, man. With a little bit of luck, they could go some really deep here.
Yeah, and they're out of the Alcoa 3A pretty much stranglehold.
Yes.
That is
all
there.
The Red Bank people applaud that.
Exactly. So obviously your success or your chances for getting further if you don't have to deal with them goes up for sure. So
yes.
I mentioned on the Red Zone a couple of times. It runs in the Blackman family. Quake, that I call it the circle button moves. That because Joseph Blackman's had several of those in the games we've covered this year. And, just like you said, so much speed, so much athleticism. It's like you said, I agree with that. If just a little bit of luck, here or there, and they can definitely be at least playing in the semifinals for sure.
I think so. I think they get past Macon County, but Upperman is always tough. And that would be actually at Red Bank if they played. But then they'd have to go to Greenville on the road to have a chance to play for the state championship. So you'd have to play, 3 pretty good games back-to-back, certainly the last 2 to get to Chattanooga, which is kind of cool to say now, right?
Cool. That is cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Those guys have done so much work, and I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but there's been so many ideas thrown out there about, having street vendors and parties and all this stuff just because I don't know if you guys knew, but Main Times 24, which is a big deal in the South Side there, they have a parade and everything. I think it's noon on Saturday. So there's going to be no telling how many people in that, 5 or 6 square block, just a big football and holiday festival. It's going to be real cool. And I think they're going to, the people that have not been and kind of experienced that game day atmosphere at Finley Stadium, they're going to be blown away. If you're from Nashville or Upper East Tennessee or Memphis, I think they're going to be blown away with it.
I tell you what, Southeast Tennessee needs to help fill that place up for those.
Yes, you're exactly right, Coach. There is no doubt about it, man. We need to be there as high school football fans and not care about what color the jerseys are.
Now they need to show TSSAA this thing belongs here.
Yes, I totally agree.
Like what you're saying, I can't remember what they call that, but that venue out across the street there.
Yeah, First Horizon Pavilion.
That is awesome.
Oh yeah, we talk
awesome.
about it all the time. If that's sat that close to Neyland Stadium or any SEC stadium, you'd have to pay $10,000 to get in that place. Man.
You sure would.
Yeah, it's just a cool facility, and they've got all kinds of great ideas for kids zone. They're going to have a big, I can't remember the sponsor on it, probably Dr. Pepper or something, but a big Dr. Pepper zone where they, have all kinds of games and stuff, food trucks, live music. It's going to be unbelievable.
But Southeast Tennessee needs to, they need to pack that thing. Like you said, no matter what color your jersey is, get in there and enjoy some football. And, let's keep this thing here.
Yeah, let's do it. It's a 2-year contract. So, what Tim Morgan told us was that they're going to set the groundwork with all the ideas they can have this year and then kind of immediately after it's over, go back and kind of review what they had and how they can really pump it up for 2022. And I think that'll sell it. I mean, look, just my opinion, but if they stayed in Cookeville as long as they did, we're going to blow their pants off, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm serious.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it there. I didn't like it in Murfreesboro or Nashville.
It's got to be the biggest. It's got to be the biggest game in town. I mean, it is and in Chattanooga, we'll treat it that way.
Yeah.
It's the absolute biggest championship of all the TSSAA. It's the biggest thing that they have. So we're going to treat it like that, and it's not going to be overlooked. If it were in Nashville right now, it'd be 150th on the list, right? I mean, the same with Murfreesboro, really, the way the borough has just exploded. Cookeville's, God's country because only God can find it. And here we are. We're right easy to find. Finley Stadium is Finley Stadium, I mean, it's just I can't wait.
I think it's going to draw a lot of people from North Georgia.
I wouldn't.
And maybe North Carolina.
Yeah.
I really do.
It's going to be something special, man. I was actually talked to JR on Tuesday morning, I guess it was, and he and I have been tabbed to call the Division II AA state championship game. I mean, what an honor that is for me personally. I mean, I'm probably riding JR's coattails, Jeff, but
not at all.
I'll ride them all day, brother. Trust me, I've done it before. But I mean, I think Mike Keith put a good word in for us, so I'm excited about that. I hope Silverdale's in it, but it looks like it's probably Lausanne and
Lipscomb.
Yeah. So if I get to see those two teams, and I've seen Lipscomb a couple years ago, Trent Dilfer, love him or hate him, whatever the case is, they've built one juggernaut right there, man. They're going to get bigger and better.
All right, Quake, I got to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Jeff Kate, this is my favorite. What's the best offensive line you've seen this year?
Here we go.
I'm just kidding.
I was about to say, come on.
I'm just kidding.
McCauley. I'm going to go McCauley or Baylor. One of the two.
Yeah, that's a running joke here. I'm always telling the coaches that join us, like, let Coach Stone ask about play up front because that's his bread and butter for sure.
I'm an offensive line play nerd too, Coach. Trust me.
They want to talk about these guys that grab the ball out of the air and run 73 yards, and I've got this 325-pound guy back here, and all he's worried about is getting down there before they got to snap the ball for extra point.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Hey, I've got a question.
Okay.
I'm going to throw out a name to you. The son-in-law.
Son-in-law.
Do you remember him?
He was up at Copper Basin or something.
Copper Basin.
That's not Stoney.
Yeah.
Stoney, of course, yeah.
One of my greatest victories of all time was at South Pittsburgh, and I was walking down the field and Stoney was calling me, and he said I think he said I'm not sure who it is, but he said I think it's going to be Quake that's going to be interviewing you right here in just a second. So I don't know what I said that night. I was so happy, and there's no telling what I said, but I think you interviewed me there on the 50-yard line.
Well, if it's a victory over South Pittsburgh, you get to say anything you want, my man. There's no doubt.
Hey, I'm telling you, we went the year before, or the time before we went to South Pittsburgh. They ran let's see, 8 plays in the first half, and we were behind 49-0.
Holy cow! Wow.
Some things haven't changed, right, Scott?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, it was nasty, but it was one of the greatest victories I ever had because I had a lot of respect for them.
Oh, of course, man. And look what they've done. That program's just, statewide, one of the legendary programs.
It is. And a lot of respect for those guys early on in my career when I was the defensive coordinator at Copper Basin. We had beat them in that side saddle wing tee. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
You didn't know who had the ball, quarterback, tailback.
Right.
and it all went to one side.
You know what's funny? I noticed this year too, and I should have been on point a whole lot more before this year, but that's why Ray County's so good this year is they run that thing to perfection, but then they got the Caleb Martin kid who can really throw it too. I mean, who knows? Ray County goes through the air to kill you.
Yeah.
And so you talk about teams that could be there in Chattanooga and Finley Stadium. I think Ray County's got a shot too, but the wing T is just such a classic high school offense. It's, it's unbelievable.
We went to I went to the Bradley Ray County game. I got a nephew that plays at Bradley, and the first play of the game, they're in the huddle, and then the next thing I know, here's this fullback running down the field for 75 yards,
Yeah.
And they snapped out of there. The next play, the next snap they had, I got to look, and they was gone. They snapped out of that huddle, and but Jeff said that's a Meadows. That's a Meadows tradition there.
Yeah, quickness.
Well, I mean, and you talk about, just Ray County. I mean, I guess let's talk about them a little bit because another guy that's on the Red Zone crew, guy a long time as well, Cowboy Joe. He's actually going to be back in his neck of the woods covering that Ray County Carnes game for us on the Red Zone Friday night. And I was joking with Wes before we got started. Between Deshaun Bishop, the back at Carnes, who's the leading rusher in the nation, nearing 3,000 yards this season. I do not know how that is, especially in 5A, going up against Ray County and a guy who's kind of made his presence known this year in sophomore back Ethan Davis. I mean, the over/under on rushing yards could be over 600 yards between both backs. Especially if they're scoring left or right with each other. So. I mean, you've seen, Ethan Davis. Just kind of talk about him because that's a guy who a lot of people haven't really known about until like the last few weeks, especially.
Right. Well, first of all, I'll take the over on that, and also the game might end before the red zone comes on the air.
That's a good
with
point.
all those rushing attempts. The clock's going to run.
All right.
It's going to run. But Ethan Davis, man, I've been impressed with him. I think we had him for Ray County and Ottawa. He's a guy that is probably a little bit light in the pants, if you will, as far as if he could get in the weight room by the time he's a senior, he's going to be a difference maker. He still is. He's got all the talent, right? He still has all the stats and accolades, and he runs well behind that line. He's got great vision and great kind of awareness of what's going on around him. And I think that's something that's just God-given. So, I mean, you put that together with a sophomore who's going to get better, who's going to be more experienced. Mark Pemberton at this point, and Caleb Martin is a sophomore too, I believe. Yeah.
Scary.
Right? Isn't he?
Yeah. Backfield is underclassmen.
Yeah. I mean, boys, this is going to be an interesting 2-3 years here for Ray County and Mark Pemberton because
It is.
they just attract so many of those Ray County guys that are just physical, tough, would rather run through you than run around you. I mean, that's just where they hang their hat, and that's a tough team to beat. And we all know, especially when you get to November when it's cold, it's wet, you get this guy pounding on you for all that time. And in the fourth quarter, sometimes you just don't want it anymore, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I think that's a big advantage that Ray County has this year and moving forward.
One of the things that really sticks out to me about that game is how much have you heard through the years about Carnes football?
Nothing.
No.
They won their first playoff game last Friday night in the history of the school. They've always been more of a basketball school. So this is the best Carnes team that they'll ever have, and I think they still run into a big wall in Evansville Friday.
The only time I've heard about Carnes, and Quake, you remember this guy, we used to have a guy on the red zone named Dallas. He was from Knoxville. He went to school there.
Yep.
We always had a Carnes Beaver update every Friday during the freaking red zone. It was crazy.
Yep.
But
and most of them are him getting beat.
Yes, exactly. And now, and like you said, man, I mean, they got great looking helmets and uniforms. That's one thing for sure. That's how I keep up with them for sure.
Right.
But I just don't know if they're going to run, if they've run into a buzzsaw that is like Ray County, especially the offense. And you've seen this, Quake. I mean, if they have the athletes, they run that wing tee to perfection. And obviously, they've had a couple of not down years, but where they didn't have the athletes that they had this year. It's definitely showing for sure what they got.
Yeah, just like Coach said, I mean, it's such a quick hit. It's like snap, bang, boom. I mean, they're right through there, and you just can't even do anything. You can't even react to it, let alone try and stop it.
I mean, they go on the first word.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
First sound out of their mouth, out of that quarterback's mouth, it's gone.
You see them play one series, and the first thing that you think of is, God, these guys have repped this 8 million times, man. I mean, it's so smooth and quick. And yeah, so I mean, they kind of feel like a well-oiled machine at this point in the year. I really feel that about Ray County.
Well, I guess I want to ask you this. Obviously, McCallie and Meigs County are going to be the two, I guess, favorites out of our area to make it to Chattanooga. But if you had to put that put a paycheck down on the team after that has the best chance to get to Chattanooga, would you say Ray County or somebody else?
A paycheck, which ain't much, but I'll go South Pittsburgh 3.
Okay.
I'll go. Wait, let me check my cheat sheet here. I got the brackets.
The radio professional right here using cheat sheets.
Yeah, right. So so if Ray can get past Powell,
that's the big one.
That's the huge one, right? If Ray gets past Powell, which it's at Powell, they're at Findlay playing for a state championship. I don't think there's a Knox Central, Knox West, Crockett, Boone, any of those teams can beat them. So if they can get past Powell, they're there. But I think so I guess I go South Pittsburgh 3rd, Ray County 4, Red Bank 5. Because I think Red Bank, and they could do it. If they win next week, as we said, they're going to have to play Upperman at home and then at Greenville, who I believe is 11-0. That would be a tall task. Not that they couldn't do it, but that'd be a lot of ask for the Lions.
You know, Bradley's got a good bracket till the semis.
Till Maryville, right? And then we all assume it's Maryville, Oakland, and the winner there wins the state title. I mean, it's not even really fun and stuff.
It's just I've been trying to get these guys to listen to my theme, my bracket that they do in Georgia.
Right.
Georgia, they don't care where you come from.
Yeah, I heard you talking about that. And I live in Ringgold, and we follow Ringgold High School. Both my kids went there. So, I mean, I know what you're saying. They'll go down to freaking Savannah, whatever, and it's like a 6-hour trip. I mean, they don't care at all. And sometimes it makes sense, but, you know, it's
sometimes I agree. But for the years that I coached at Copper Basin, Gordonsville was like on our schedule. You know, it was just we played them 1 year or 3 years in a row in the semifinals. Lost in double overtime in '83, and then when I went back as a head coach, we played them about 3 or 4 years in a row. And, you know, it was just like an 11th or 12th game for us.
Did you coach there with Swamp Rat?
No.
He was right before you?
I coached there with Coach Mullinax.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow. There's a legend.
I was, I don't know, fortunate.
We all are.
He hired me right out of college, and he said, "You're going to be the defensive coordinator. Don't say anything to me. Don't ask any questions. If you got a question, it better not be stupid. You're going to you're going to coach the offensive line."
Yeah. Wow.
And, you know, that's that was I couldn't take those years back. Went to McMinn County with him, did the same thing down there, and then I went to McMinn Central after 1 year at McMinn County. There you go.
Look at Wes. Yeah, I see it.
But I was a graduate of McMinn Central, and that's you know, it didn't matter.
But
25 years old, there wasn't nobody going to keep me from going.
Right.
No doubt.
That's great.
Well, Quake, I know we're getting close to being done with it, but I did want to. I don't think I've ever asked you this, so you haven't heard this question from me yet until now.
Okay.
You know, obviously we mentioned your connection with Sport Talk, the Red Zone, and Friday Night Rivals. If you can narrow these down, why don't you give us your best or most memorable moment from each of those three, if you can?
Oh wow, man! You should have gave me some time to think about this one, man.
First of
all, with Sport Talk, there's no way. I mean, so many. I mean, I guess having Charles Barkley, being able to meet Tiger Woods, who screwed me on an interview, but other than that, I'm not bitter. Brian Jordan was one of the coolest dudes to hang out with, in the studio. It wasn't like we had dinner or anything. I'll tell you who surprised me the most was John Rocker.
Okay.
That guy was cordial. I was waiting for Big Jack Wagon to come in, and he was cordial. He was cool, man. I liked John Rocker. Having access to Terrell Owens, just because when I was a senior at UTC in '92, he was just kind of coming there, and so we would keep going to the Southern Conference tournament up in Asheville, and he was on the basketball team. Mm-hmm. So we all went to a couple, get-togethers that were official Mocs get-togethers, and just getting to know him. You never would have thought in a million years he would have the career that he did. He seemed like he was just quiet and kind of didn't care, honestly. I never would have pictured him to have the work ethic that he did, like him or not. So Red Zone definitely have to be the night that Coach Weathers got arrested at Soddy Daisy. That was crazy. People wanted audio or a copy of audio from that for 3 or 4 months afterwards. People were like, "Can I get the audio?" That was insane. The helmet gate, if you all have heard about that, where
Bucklegate,
Bucklegate, where South Pittsburgh and Boyd Buchanan accused South Pittsburgh of sharpening their helmet buckles to when they tackled you, it cut your arm and all. I mean, you kidding me? Who thinks of that, right? I mean, if it is true.
I was right in the middle of that.
So, were you really? Somebody's sick if they're doing that, man. I'm serious. That's crazy.
People were calling me, telling me, "You better check them guys' helmets. You better be on those referees right off the bat. You better be talking to them because they're going to cut you up."
That is crazy, man. I mean, maybe it happened. I don't know, but it's that was kind of wild. I remember it kind of well, we'll forget that story. So Friday Night Rivals. Anytime Baylor plays McCallie, like this, I mean, I could go forever. I could count for every year, but this year was just insanity. I mean, because you know how much those folks hate each other, and they try and one-up each other every single year. They had this fireworks display that would rival Riverbend, just running out of the helmet, right? The game hadn't even started yet. They're going fireworks off the roof of the buildings on campus. I mean, it was just crazy. And then, of course, when they won, it was even more, right? That's always just incredible. I'll tell you what, the one that really jumps out at me was this past year's Northwest Whitfield versus Heritage. So my soon-to-be son-in-law, he came by. It was the next day, right? And I, record all of them. I said, just watch 1 minute of football with me. Just 1 minute. He goes, 1 minute? I said, yeah, just 1 minute. I mean, literally, there was 1 minute on the clock, right? To shorten it up, Heritage takes a snap, incomplete. Takes the next snap, throws the corner, touchdown. This sophomore whose dad I've known, and he went to school with my kids at Boynton Elementary. I thought, man, this is great. This is great. Good for them. They've won the game. There's probably 40 seconds left. Northwest comes out with that, I'm drawing a blank now, Robinson maybe is their wide receiver they've got.
Yep.
They throw a down, out. He catches it, gain of about 8. Down, out, catches it, gain of about 6. Down, out, up. He caught that thing, touchdown. Game over. I mean, 1 minute of football. Just watch 1 minute of football. And it was just one heck of a final. I mean, that's an ending of a game. That's as good as it gets. Venue-wise, there's nothing better than North Murray. I know you saw that. I think you saw that for the first time this year. That's a gorgeous setting for high school football. That's there's been a lot of great memories. One of the crazy things is how we did the show without cell phones before. I mean, when I think back on that, I'm like, why did anybody go to a payphone and call us? Why would you take that time out? Because then you're going to be on hold for a minute, right?
Exactly.
I mean, yep. But people did that. They did. And I think that shows a passion for high school football in our area.
No doubt, man. Well, Well, Scott, thank you for taking the time to join us, my friend.
You're welcome, man. Anytime. You guys are great. Enjoyed it.
Plug Sport Talk. Tell how people can listen to you every day.
Sport Talk 3 to 7, Talk Radio 102.3. You can listen online at WGOW.com. That's where we do it all. We'll be final weekend of the Red Zone, final Friday night. Will be after Lady Vols game this week. They play down in Orlando at some tournament, and that's like a 6 o'clock tip on Friday. So they'll play 6 to 8, 15-ish with a post-game show. And then we'll come on for the final Red Zone. So looking forward to that big time. And I just want to say I appreciate everybody, you guys for having me on here for sure, but just everybody that's listened and enjoyed high school football. I mean, we're not trying to be experts on the Red Zone. We're just trying to have fun with it because that's what high school football is supposed to be, is fun. We've always considered it fun. I never got to play. We should have got into that story. Scoliosis as a middle schooler, and my mom said, absolutely no freaking way. You better get to learn basketball and baseball and start to learn those sports. So I think because I couldn't play, that passion was sparked, when I got old enough to say, let's talk about this on the radio, because I really love Friday nights and Friday Night Lights and just the whole thing. I've said it before, there's nothing better when you go to a small town and every fast food place on every sign says, go Tigers, go Lions, go Pirates, whatever the heck it is, the whole town's bought in. And that's what, to me, that's Americana. And that's what makes Friday nights so great in America, especially in Southeast Tennessee.
No doubt, man. Well, buddy, we'll see you Friday in studio after the Red Zone. And just thank you for taking the time to come up and have some fun with us.
Anytime, man. Look forward to it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Quake.
We'll take a quick commercial break, then be right back with our last segment of the podcast. You listen to the Friday Night Pressbox podcast presented by Team FYN Sports. Welcome back to the Friday Night Pressbox podcast presented by Team FYN Sports. Guys, we've started this. We've done this in 2 or 3 weeks, previously. So we're gonna bring back the start bench cut. This week, I put up my Christmas tree. Stone made me unplug it because he thought that was what the technical difficulty was going for. But
Totally was.
I'll have mine up next week, okay?
But
she's sitting right over there.
But Christmas is right around the corner. You got Thanksgiving. We've already done the Thanksgiving foods. We might as well do start bench cut Christmas movies, okay? Here are the 3 I've picked: Home Alone, Christmas Story, and Christmas Vacation. So Home Alone, Christmas Story, and Christmas Vacation. Jeff, Kate, we'll start with you.
I mean, the starter from now until the end of time for me is going to be Christmas Vacation. I mean, just the one-liners in that movie that you can just say not just Christmas time, but the entire year. I mean, some of them not so nice, but especially when the board members are going into the boardroom. I'll leave it at that. But I would definitely start that. I would definitely bench. Oh, man. I mean, this is a tough one for me because I think I would bench Home Alone and cut Christmas Story because it's on for 24 hours every single Christmas. I think it just gets overblown, but the waiver wire between those two, between the two was very, very close. And, I guess we have to say Christmas Story is the Odell Beckham Jr. on the waiver wire this week for sure.
Coach Stone.
I'm going to go Home Alone. I'm going to bench Christmas Story. I'm a little bit, I'm not one to sit and watch it every year, but and then Christmas Vacation, I'm going to cut. You put one on us right there, Wesley.
Coach Stone, you see that thing on the bottom of your computer that says "Leave Studio"? Go in and leave studio now, pal.
All right, buddy. I'm out of here. Hey, I sat here the other day and watched Home Alone, and
It's good stuff.
Somebody was sitting here and they were talking at this, you know, what he's going to say right here. And then it cracked me up.
So, Jeff K., I got quite offended whenever you said what you said about Christmas Story. There's a reason it's on for 24 hours a day on Christmas, because it's simply the best.
Okay.
Christmas Story, I've already watched it twice. I mean, that's how good this movie is. I love Christmas Story. I mean, eat your Ovaltine. I mean, you got to get the code, and that's what you get. Eat your Ovaltine. Come on now. So I'm going to start Christmas Story, bench Christmas Vacation, and then cut home alone.
God,
we were all different.
We were different.
I like it.
That's all right.
Yeah, bench Vacation, and cut
that's
home.
America, right?
We can agree to disagree, right? So,
right.
And still get along with each other. But yeah, I mean, you know, they're all so good. I mean, it's all, you know, right there in that line with each other. But yeah, that was a good one for sure. So
I'm full of good ones. I mean, I'll be sure to have another good one next week. So looking ahead to this week, let me pull it up here. What's one of the matchups that you've got circled on the docket this week, Jeff Kate?
What I have circled on my Scott McMahon cheat sheet here is I think the game, I guess the game of the week, I mean, it's not going to be our game of the week on the Red Zone is going to be that Red Bank Macon County game, but I think the game that should have everybody's attention circled in a big highlighter there is that Trousdale County Meigs County showdown going on in Decatur this week. Like I mentioned in the first segment, you know, it seemed like they've met for the last 20 years in the playoffs, but it's been like the last 4 or 5, and you know, they've had some great games both in Decatur and at Trousdale County. You know, talking about out in the middle of God's country, like Quake was saying, that's up there like toward the Kentucky border, I believe. So I mean, you know, out in the middle of nowhere there too. So great 2 small town communities meeting. I mean, I hate this one is a second round matchup, but you know, it is what it is with the regions and everything else. I know Coach Stone's blood pressure is going to stay low, talking about how that's set up for sure. But if I had to pick another one just off the top of my head,
I got Farragut Bradley Central right up there.
That one's there, but I like kind of what we talked about in that 5A showdown with Carnes and Ray. I just kind of want to see the clash of those 2 running games, right? Just to see who's going to come out on top. Obviously, I think Ray is the more well-rounded offense, and you know, it all starts up front, like Coach Stone loves to talk about. And seeing them last week, it all starts up front. And that'd be another one I look forward to, just based on the running games that both those teams have. It
is so quick. You don't realize it until you're there.
Yeah.
But you know, it's unbelievable.
Well, it's like you guys were saying too. That backfield is underclassmen. And they're running that offense so well right now. And the thing I like about that Ethan Davis, you know, for Ray County, yes, he's young and he's a little undersized, I guess. But you know what? He has the instincts, and he knows when to go, and he's getting behind that line and going. So, but you know, I do want to see though how Deshaun Bishop, who is a 2023 Tennessee target as well, does for Carnes. Obviously, you know, like we talked about with Quake and throughout the show, the nation's leading rusher with close to 3,000 yards. There's a reason why, especially in 5A, he's been able to do that. So we'll see how both teams square off against each other at Evansville on Friday.
McMahon County goes on the road to play Powell. Loudon hosts Cannon County. Maryville hosts Westridge.
Who?
Westridge, who beat Cleveland last week. Upperman and DeKalb County playing East Hamilton last week and beating East Hamilton on the road. They get to go to Upperman, a 10-1 team.
Yeah, I mean, you know, South Pitt is the only team left in 1A. I mean, I think we all expect them to kind of move on. I'm sure that, you know, we're going out on a limb saying that for sure, guys, you know. So, and really, I mean, you know, another game I think people should kind of keep an eye on too is that Marion County Watertown game. Marion having to go on the road, you know, with an 8-1 record, you know, but, you know, it is what it is because Watertown won their region at 7-3. But, you know, anytime you go on the road in the playoffs, I mean, yeah, obviously you have a chance to get beat any Friday night, but especially going on the road. And kind of want to see how Coach Pruitt's squad does, you know, handling that adversity going on the road in the playoffs for sure.
You know, of course I've been hammering this, but if Alcoa and Maryville goes to Chattanooga, they may not have enough seats down there for all those guys, and particularly somebody like Ray County, Meigs County. They're going to take a lot of people down the road.
I'll tell you another team too. It does. I mean, I don't think it matters if Maryville or Oakland wins, but I think Oakland would be in that as well because Murfreesboro is right down the road from. I mean, it's not. It's a good distance, but it's not. But I think that would be another fan base that would bring a ton of people here for sure.
Baylor, after winning last week against Innsworth, they get to go on the road and play MBA, Montgomery Bell Academy. Baylor 7-4 on the year. Montgomery Bell 7-3 on the year. McCallie hosts Father Ryan. McCallie, after the first round bye, gets to play Father Ryan. Knox Webb will host Davidson Academy. CAK goes on the road to play CPA. Silverdale goes on the road to play Lipscomb. That is at Lipscomb Academy. Silverdale was at Lipscomb Academy last week as well.
Yeah, that was a quote neutral site game with Silverdale as the home team because I talked to somebody who was there with that. I mean they use their PA announcer from Silverdale and they use everything like that. But I mean the one good thing in Silverdale's favor, I mean I don't think there's many advantages in this matchup with Trent Dilfer's team here at Lipscomb, but they at least know the facilities, right? I mean I heard Quake and Joe talking about that. They at least know where the bathroom is and all that good stuff. But I mean, that's gonna be a tall order for the Seahawks to go on the road and get in, at least be in the game against Lipscomb because Lipscomb's a very good football team for sure.
That pretty much covers all the games that are associated with us in our area this week. But
let's throw this one here, Wes. I think you know where I'm going with this. Let's give a special shout out. A team that actually wrapped up a state championship last week. I mean, people kind of literally flying under the radar, right? The Grace Academy Golden Eagles won the 8-man state championship last weekend, and when we talked with Coach Ateka earlier, a few weeks ago, they had already qualified for the national tournament, but they definitely solidified that with a state championship, and they're competing for a national title, guys. I mean, that's amazing to think that they have a chance to bring home a national championship, and I think their first game, It's Saturday afternoon, 4:00 against Evangelical Christian Lightning. So, definitely just a huge good luck, and we're definitely pulling for the Grace Golden Eagles for sure. And it's gonna be fun. Hopefully they can bring it home and give us something to talk about next week, right? So
yeah,
I think they'll bring it home. I'm pulling for them,
as we all are, as all East Tennessee should.
What Wes and Coach, are you guys going out to a playoff game this week?
No, we might venture somewhere.
I'm thinking about venturing down to Bradley. Got a nephew on that team, offensive lineman, Tucker Berseers. Looking forward to.
Does Linda go with you, Coach Stone?
Linda goes with me. That's one of the top. That's an easy place to get into.
That's your security detail, isn't it?
Yeah, and
I'm thinking about going down there.
We took about 35 to the Ray County game, and we found the concession stand. So that's big time right there.
I'm thinking about going down to Bradley Central this Friday.
Fried Oreos.
Hey, Central's got fried. McMinn Central has fried Oreos as well. And they're pretty good.
But
I
love hearing that banner in the background there. That just goes to show the logistics are being planned right now for sure. So,
yeah.
But
I'm not right down there with Coach Stone this week.
Well, just give me a call.
I'll give you a call.
Well, boys, we got about a minute left. It's hard to believe that this hour has come and gone, but another thank you to Scott McMahon for coming on. And definitely some great stories, and he's definitely been around for sure. He's still a young pup, right, for sure, but he just a lot of great knowledge, and just you could tell, just like us, just loves high school football, loves the area, and what two better things, right, for this podcast. So.
He's a great guy. I believe he could talk for 3 hours.
He probably could. Well, guys, be sure to like and share this post, and make sure to watch it and give us some feedback. So For Jeff, Kate, Coach Stone, I'm Wes Oakley. Have a good night, guys.